Hi, welcome to my videos on squares and cubes of fractions. Square fraction, a over b squared, is a over b times a over b. And a and b belong to the natural numbers. 1/2 squared is 1/2 times 1/2. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4. 1/3 squared is 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 3 is 9. 2/5 squared is 2 over 5 times 2 over 5. 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 5 is 25. Now I have two choices here. I can go 1 1/4 times 1 1/4, and that makes it 1 times 4 plus 1 is 5 over 4, and the same. That will give me 5 5s are 25 over 16, and 16 goes into 25 once, and 9 left over, so it's 9 over 16. Or you could go make it 5 over 4 starting off, and then square it to get 25 over 16, and then divide to get 1 and 9 over 16. So it's your choice. So square means to multiply by itself. So 3 times 2 is 6, makes it 7 over 2. Easy to write down. And 7 times 7 over 2 times 7 over 2, 49 over 4. And 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 9 goes 2, and 1 left over, so it's 1/4. So 2 2/3 squared is 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8 over 3. Now if you want, you can square this without writing it down. You can say 8 squared, 64, 3 squared is 9, if you know what you're doing, and you know that when you square, you multiply by itself. 7 nines are 63, and 1 left over. So it's 7 and 1/9. Practice means pause the video, work these out, and then press the play and see if you're right. 1 squared is 1, 4 squared is 16. So just taking a shortcut now. 3 over 10 squared, 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. 10 times 10 is 100. So that's quicker. Remember, when you're doing math and you're using your pencil, you like to work things out fast. 5 squared is 5 times 5 is 25. 6 squared is 6 times 6 is 36. Again, it's easier to change because you're squaring, because you're multiplying by itself, we change this to an improper fraction. 1 times 4 plus 3 is 7 over 4 squared. 7 squared is 49. 4 squared is 16. 16 divided into 49 goes 2. So that gives you 32. And, let's go with 3. I was going to say 2, but 16 is 3. That gives me 48. If I had to divide, I said 2, I would have had 17 left over, so I could have gone 1 more. So that's 1 left over, so it's 3 and 1 over 16. Check it back. 3 times 16 is 48 plus 1, 49. Correct. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 squared is 49 over 9. 3 squared. 9. 5 nines are 45, and there's 4 left over. Over 9, sorry. So 5 nines are 45 plus 4 is 49. And we have 17 over 3, because 5 times 3 plus 2. 17 over 3 becomes, let's try our calculator and see what happens here. Let's try our calculator. 17 squared is 289. 3 squared is 9. Now, If you use your calculator again, you can divide by 9 and you'll get a 32. So if you take the 32 and multiply by 9, you will get, let's see, 32 times 9 is 288. So that means I have a 32 and 289 subtract 288 is a 1. So I get a 1, 32 and 1/9. So again, most students use a calculator. So I'll use my calculator and show you how to handle it. And to check it out, to make sure, let's go 32 times 9 plus 1. 32 times 9, and we add on 1, so we got 289. Good. Now, how about cubing a fraction? A over b cubed is a over b times a over b times a over b. And you notice that we have a and b belong to the natural numbers. Again, we're not entertaining any negative numbers. 1/3 cubed. 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 times 1, 1. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. 3 over 10 cubed is 3 over 10 times 3 over 10 times 3 over 10. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. 10 times 10 is 100 times 10 is 1,000. Notice you get 3 zeros. And because we're cubing, we could make it an improper fraction. So 1 times 2 plus 1 is 3 over 2 cubed. 3 over 2 times 3 over 2 times 3 over 2. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27 over 8. And what does that give us? 8 into 27 goes 3 times, and we get 3 left over. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3 cubed. Up on top we had 3 over 10. Now we got 10 over 3. So 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Notice I'm shortening it up. 27. Oh, we got another one. Let's try it again. 1,000 divided by 27. So I get a 37. So if I take the 37 and multiply by 27, 37 times 27, I'll get 999. So 1,000 subtract 999 is a 1. So I get 1 and over 27. Again, check. 37 times 27 is 999 and is 1 extra. 2/5 cubed. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. A half cubed. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 cubed. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. 1 1/4 is 1 times 4 is 4 plus 1 is 5 over 4 is a mixed number. Improper fraction. Mixed number to an improper fraction. 5 cubed is 5 times 5 is 25 times 5, 125. 4 cubed is 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Remember, if you use your calculator, you're guaranteed, hope to get it right. 64 goes into 125 once, and 61 is left over. Again, you can check it out to see if your manipulation is right, but if we go 64 plus 61, we get a 125. So you divide to get 1. And 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6 over 5 cubed. And 6 cubed is 36. 36 times 6 is 216 over 125, which is 5 cubed. And check again, use the calculator, check it out, just to see. 6 cubed, 6, power button, 3. 2/16. If I divide by 125 on the calculator, I get a 1. I know I have a 1. So 2/16 subtract 125 will give you 91. So you get 91 over 125. So that's cubing, squaring. Important to do, just check your work. Make sure you do it right. Now, how about doing some order of operations, PEMDAS or BEDMAS? Remember, we have brackets we got to do first. Then we got to do exponents. Then we got to do multiplication or division, left to right. And then we have to do addition, subtraction, left to right. So we have to do the inside of the brackets. So 9 is a common denominator, so 2 and 1 makes 3. And 3 over 9 reduces. 3 and 3 goes once, 3 and 9 goes 3. Square that. 1/3 squared, 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Remember, we have to, when we do the order of operations, which is adding, subtracting, brackets, squaring, cubing, all that, we have to do the inside of the brackets first. So 1/6 plus 1/6, 6 is the common denominator, 1 plus 1 is 2. Can you simplify this? If you can, it makes it easier. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 6 goes 3. Simplifying the fraction makes it easier if you work further. We have now the brackets done. Now we have to do the exponent. So 9 over 2, and that's understood to be a multiplication there. So 1 over 3 cubed. 1 cubed is 1. 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Since we're multiplying, you should remember that when you're multiplying fractions, you try to cancel first. 9 goes into 9 once. 9 goes into 27, 3. So the 1 times 1 is 1, and we get 2 times 3 is 6. C, notice we have the inside of the brackets already completed, so we now have to square these first, because we got to do brackets or parentheses first, and then exponents. So 3 over 5 squared is 3 squared is 9, 5 squared is 25. Subtract 3 squared is 9, 10 squared is 10 times 10, 100. Common denominator for 100 and 25 is 100, because common denominators are multiples. So 100 is 20, multiple of 25 is 100. So if the LCD is 100, we multiply the first fraction by 4 over 4. 4, because 4 fives gives me 100. So 5 times 9 is 36. And we have a common denominator of 100, so we subtract 36 minus 9 is 27. Yep. 27 is prime. 27 has a factor. No, not prime. Sorry. 27 got a factor of 3. 27 and 100 won't cancel. D. I see a multiplication, addition, multiplication. So there's no brackets to do. There's no exponents to do. So I underline from left to right the multiplication divisions. When I do that, I have to work this multiplication and this multiplication before I add. I see when I multiply, I cancel. So 11 and 11 goes 1 and 1. And I get a 7 over 8 plus. Multiplying, see if I can cancel. Cancel the 7s. And I get a 3 over 10. Now I need a common denominator for it. Notice I multiplied first. Now I'm going to add. Common denominator for 8 and 10. Let's see what 8 and 10 will give me. 8 is 2. 4. 4 is 2 and 2. So 8 is 2 cubed. 10 is a 2 times a 5. So I have a 2 and a 5. And I have to take the highest power of 2, which is 3. So that's 8 times 5, 40. 40 is my LCD. So that means I multiply the first fraction by 5 to get the 40, top and bottom. Multiply the second one by 4 to get a 48, so I have to have a 4 on top to balance it out. Keep 5 sevens are 35, 5 eights are 40, 3 fours are 12, 10 times 4 is 40. So we see we have a common denominator of 40. Now we have to add, keep the denominator, add. I get 47. 47 is improper, so 40 into 47 goes once, and there's 7 left over. So it's 1 and 7 over 40. 7 is prime, so we can't reduce. E, working these out, I have to work the inside of the brackets first. So I'm going to write down the rest of the problem. That's what I do. I do one step at a time. Inside of here, I have a subtraction and a multiplication. So the BEDMAS says I have to multiply or divide left to right before I add or subtract. So the 3/8, subtract, 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 2 is 8. Now I got the multiplication done, I subtract. So I get 3, common denominator is 8. So 3 subtract 1 is 2 times, write the rest of the problem down. Now I have to multiply, so I can multiply before I add. So 2 into 8 goes 4, 2 into 1 goes 2, 2 into 4 goes 2. So I have a 1 and a 1, so that's a 1 over 6, add on 2 over 9. So you follow the order of operations and everything, but you just take your time, think it through. Now the common denominator for 6 and 9, I see an 18, so I multiply 3 and 2. That gives me the 18. A multiple of 9 as a multiple of 6 is 18. And 3 on the top, and 2 on the top, that gives me 3 over 18 and 4 over 18. And when I add them together, I keep my denominator and add 3 and 4 to get 7. Can't reduce. Let's do F. Now I see brackets. So I'm going to write down everything here. Not do 1. Do not touch anything else. Only work the brackets. 2/3 subtract 1/3 is 1/3. Common denominator is 3, so I subtract my exponents. Done. Now I have to, brackets are finished, I have to do my exponents. 24. A half cubed is 1 times 1 times 1, 1. 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 1/3 squared is 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. So notice I have my brackets done. Notice one step at a time. Do your inside of your brackets, do your exponents or powers. Now I have to look at this and I say, what do I have? I multiply, multiply, multiply. So I'm going to do all this multiplication right here first, and then I'm going to do this multiplication, leaving the subtraction to the last. When I multiply, the 24 is understood to be over 1. So I cancel in multiplication top to bottom. 8 into 8 goes once, 8 into 24 goes 3. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 3 goes once. So that's 1 over 1, which is 1. Subtract. Notice I have 1/9 times 2 over 1, so I can't cancel. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 9 is 9. Notice I have a 1 subtract 1/9, so a 1 is the same as a 9 over 9. Because when I subtract or add fractions, I need a common denominator. So another name for 1 is 9 over 9. So when I do that, I have a common denominator of 9, and I have a 7. 9 subtract 2. Let's continue. Now, you try these, pause, work these out, and see if you get the answers that I'm going to get. Brackets, I have to do the inside. So think about B, PEMDAS, or BEDMAS, whatever way you want to say it. I'm going to do brackets or exponents first. Sorry, I'm going to do the inside of the brackets first because I have to do the P. Think of, in the order of operations, always think, always keep this in your head. Do brackets first, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. So I have to do the inside of the brackets. So 6 is the common denominator, I get a 3. 3 over 6 reduces to 1/2. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 6 goes 2. 1/2 cubed, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. No brackets to work out because the 4/5 is already simplified. So I have to do the exponent first. So 16 over 25, subtract, and I leave that alone. Remember, I'm only doing one step at a time. Now I'm going to do the multiplication before subtracting. When I multiply here, I have to cancel. 4 into 4 goes 1 and 1, so that gives me 3 over 5. So notice I did the exponents first, then I did the multiplication after. Now I subtract. Common denominator for 25 and 5 is 25. So I multiply by 5 over 5 to keep it. So 16 over 25, subtract. 3 times 5 is 15 over 25. I have the same denominator of 25, and 16 subtract 15 is 1. So, number 3, look around. I see a multiplication, I see exponent, I see exponent. Oh, I have to work the inside of this bracket first. 1/4 times 8 over 5 squared. Subtract. And I'm multiplying, there's no cancellation, so I just get a 3 over 10 squared. Now that I have that done, I have to do Parenthesis. I got my bracket inside of here done. I have to do my exponents. So leave the 1/4 alone. 8 squared is 64 and 25. And 1/3 over 10, 3 over 10 squared is 9 over 100. Now I have to do multiplication and division left to right. Left to right. So I have to multiply before I subtract. So right here I see a 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 64 is 16. So I have 1 times 16 and 1 times 25. Common denominator is 100. Multiple, so I need to multiply the bottom by 4 and the top by 4. That gives me 64 over 100 minus 9 over 100. And when you subtract, you get 55 over 100. 5 is a common factor, so 5 into 55 goes 11. 5 into 100 goes 20. Number 4. PEMDAS is, I got to do my brackets first. So multiplication, I cancel if I can. Yes, 3's will cancel out. I get a 5 over 4 squared. Subtract. Do inside of the bracket. I get 4 minus 1. Common denominator is 8. Perfect. 5 minus 1, is 4. And notice, it's nice. To finish this off, I get a half. I could have said 4 over 8 and then say, oh yeah, that's 1/2 and avoid it. Made it shorter. But take our time. 5 over 4 squared is 25 over 16. You square each number. 1/2 cubed is 1 over 8. Common denominator for 16 and 8 is 16. So I'll multiply the 8 by 2. On the bottom, give me 16, so 2 on the top. 25 over 16, subtract 2 over 16. Common denominator is 16, write it down. 25 subtract 2 is 23. An improper fraction, so divide. 16 into 23 goes once, and there's a 7 left over. 1 times 16 plus 7 is 23, right? Number 5. I have to work out the inside here first. So 7 over 9, subtract. Let's see. I'm going to write all this down. Just takes a little bit of time. I made them up so they make you think a little bit more. Because normally you don't see the order operations with the fractions, but I like, again, learn the math, practice the math, and you do great. Now, This gives me, notice I can't subtract. So if I change this to a 7 over 6, 1 times 6 plus 1, now because I have them with common denominators, I'm able to subtract a little bit easier. So that gives me 2 over 6. And the 2 over 6, if I make it simpler, 2 over 6 becomes 1/3. One step at a time. Now I have to do my powers. 1/3 squared is 1/9. One step at a time. So let's go up here. And I have to subtract, add, and multiply. So I have to multiply first. So 7 over 9, leave it alone. 1 over 9, leave it alone. Plus, and 7 over 3 times 1 over 7, 7's cancel. And I get 1 over 3. Now, common denominator, I could subtract these right here if I want, and then add, because these are, so if I can do that, as you can see, your common denominator is 9, so 7 gives me a 6. And I can go with a common denominator of 9, but I can reduce this. 3 into 6 goes 2, 3 into 9 goes 3. So I get common denominator is 3 over 3, and this works out to be a beautiful 1. Most math is designed to work out. Make it work pretty good. And you'll find that in calculus when you go further. Number 6, no brackets, no parentheses, no exponents. So I have to multiply and divide left to right. So as I go from left to right, as if I'm writing, I just keep track. Multiply, multiply, multiply. Do not add. Do not subtract. Multiply first. Multiplication of fractions, can you cancel? 3 into 3 goes 1 each. 2 into 2 goes 1, and I get a 50. So that's 1 over 25. When I'm multiplying fractions, I cancel. Cancel the 9's. 9 to 9 goes once, 9 to 9 goes once. That's a 2 over 5. And I'm multiplying again, so I cancel. I'm going to cancel the 0 here because that's dividing by 10. I can see 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 21, 7. I got a 7 on top and bottom, so they cancel. 1 and 1. So that gives me a 1 over 10. Common denominator for 25, 5, and 10. If you work it out, you'll get 25 is 5 times 5, 5 squared. 5, 10 is 2 and a 5. So I have a 2 and a 5, but I have a 5 squared. So you can see that I have a LCD. 25 is 5 squared. 5 you don't break down. 10 is 2 times 5, so I need 1, 2, 1, 5, and I take the highest power of 2. 50 is my LCD. So I multiply this one by 2 over 2. Multiply 2/5 by 10 over 10. And multiply 1/10 by 5 over 5. That gives me 50 on the denominator of each one. So 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 10 is 50, correct. 2 times 10 is 20, subtract. 10 times 5 is 50. 1 times 5 is 5. Notice the common denominator is 50. And because it's 50, write down your denominator, and I can add to get 22 and subtract to get 5. So that's a 17. 17 over 50, 17 is prime, can't break down, so that's the final. Hope you enjoyed my video on squaring and cubing, and again, how important it is to stress the order of operations. And if you like my video, click on my like button, click on my subscribe, notification bell, because there's more videos that I'm doing. If you want to write a comment, go ahead. And if you want to visit my website at www.mathfullyexplained.com, you get information about me, degrees, my teaching experience in math. In my videos, I have certain teaching strategies that I'll tell you about that I use in teaching to help you understand. And the content on my YouTube channel, in there section you'll see topics, the number of videos on each topic. The topics completed are in black font, and the topics to be completed is red font. Hope you enjoyed my video. Bye-bye.